Hey everybody, Boris, speaking Forex. Welcome to the crosses section for SEP 3 to SEP 7 2018. And the crosses this week are really focused on risk off and Aussie specific trades, because I think what's clear from the charts is just how vicious the downtrend is on the euro pairs. So I have two euro pairs that I wanted to kind of show you. Let's take a look at the levels. Euro Swiss, Euro Yen. Euro Swiss really hitting some very, very strong low levels as the week came to a close. Clearly a lot of risk-off concerns still going on, and I think has a little bit more to go. We'll take a look at the charts and I'll show you. Euro Yen, the same kind of a story. And what's interesting about, I think, both of those trades is that once they make the turn, the persistence tends to be quite strong in both of those pairs. Aussie Kiwi is really a trade basically on Aussie weakness into the RBA, into the assumption that perhaps we're going to turn even a little bit more dovish as the week progresses, with the potential here of a test at a 108 as we go forward. Let's take a look at the charts here, and let me show you what I have in mind. So first, Euro Yen. Let's take a look at Euro Yen. So Euro Yen still very much above its 20 and 500 SMAs. You could make an argument that it's just simply a retrace on an uptrend, which it is, but the downward pull here is pretty strong. More importantly, the turn in Euro Yen tends to be always persistent. Look at the every time we make a peak and a turn, there is at least 3, 4, 5, 6 days of continuation of trade here as the risk off trade flows come into view. Furthermore, there's still more room to go here to about 28 on the 20 SMA, which becomes the real support here on the trade. And it's all really a trade on both the fact, basically it's really a trade on the fact that trade war tremors are going to erupt as the week opens up. That nothing is really positive on that end of the front, and that's going to create more sell-off in the equity markets and probably drag the pair down towards the test of the 128s as we go forward. We take a look at the weekly here just to see how that stands up as far as the signals go. Weekly also looks pretty ugly. We've got a very, very nice shooting star formation here, suggests a reversal pattern. You can see the reversal patterns are pretty persistent on the weeklies here. Here's another one over here that was good for about 100 points, and then ultimately really a couple hundred points to the downside. Trying to see if I can find you a little bit more of the. Here's another shooting star pattern. Sometimes they're not. They take a while to develop. Here's one that took a sort of a consolidated for a whole month, but still very much never broke the highs of the shooting star pattern and came down eventually for a couple hundred points. So to me, the Euro Yen trade actually is very, very significant. Now, taking a look at Euro Swiss, there the trade is real. This is the weekly. So the weekly looks very ugly. We're at the lows of the weekly. Again, when we have these seminal moves where we have the lows of the weekly, lows of the daily, maybe even lows of the monthly, the daily breaks the 500 SMA, right? If we go out into the chart, we see that the support here at around 1300 effectively got broken, and now we're entering into that whole big breakout zone that we had from 1000 to 1300, basically a retrace all the way back down to the pre-Macron days, Macron breakout days. To me, this is a pretty ugly structure. Now, the crosses of the 500 SMAs, depending on if they're coming from far up or far down, tend to have some significance. Not always, but some significance, depending just how far it's coming from each direction. I'm just kind of going back here, as you can see, and the drop here, because it's a cross, is not always as persistent as it would be on a pure measure. But I think in this case, given the fact that we have a low of the week, low of the daily, low of the weekly, at very minimum, we got at least like 1200, maybe 1150 as a potential possibility here. The upward support here, or the upward resistance, is about 1400 on Euro Swiss. That's where you're wrong if it retraces all the way back up. But that would require a much more buoyant and positive investor sentiment, and I think you're seeing the exact opposite. The investor sentiment is actually going to start to slide as we go forward. The final trade is the Aussie Kiwi, which is really sort of a trade on relative weakness of the Aussie. The relative weakness of the Aussie has really come in here. It's not been that the Kiwi has been strong, just Aussie has been weaker. And it's really starting to sell off here. We were at the lows of the week here on Friday. We are at support. The one thing that does concern me about trying to sort of sell this thing is it's always tough to sell Aussie Kiwi into support and resistance. So you do have like this 108.50. I would perhaps maybe wait Monday, see how well it trades. If we take out the 108s on Monday, that's a very bad sign, and that suggests we could move all the way down to 107.50s. If we kind of hover here, then perhaps we'll find a modicum of support. Bottom line is, I think the break towards the 108s, if we start hitting 108.10s, 108.20s on this pair, that becomes a momentum sell all the way down to 107. So we go forward on the idea that RBA now may join the RBNZ as a potential rate cutter in 2019 rather than a rate hiker. That's a massive surprise. The market, I don't think, at all expected as a scenario going forward. Anyways, those are the most interesting trades. I think if I was gun to my head, the favorite trade of the week to start off, just on a pure momentum basis, would be Euro Yen, because I think both of those pairs look vulnerable to further risk-off trades as the week begins. Wish you guys the best of luck, the best trading. Boris, over now.